if I could just literally come off the stage and I could get real close to you and we could have kind of like a one-on-one conversation. There are two questions that I would ask you, and the two questions I'm about to ask you will really determine how successful you're going to be in this business. Without any question, these are the two questions. It's not like there's 3 or there's 4 or there's 7. There's 2, okay? Just trust me on this. I'm an old man. I know this. I've been around the block a few times. And there are 2 questions that if you can answer in a positive way about yourself, you're going to be very successful. And if you really cannot answer that in a positive way, to be honest with you, you're not going to be near as successful as you would like to be. The first question is very simple. What are you doing to develop yourself? And if you'd say, my gosh, John, I'll tell you right now, I'm doing a lot to develop myself. I've got a personal growth plan and I'm intentional in this and I'm doing this on a daily deal. If you could say that to me, then I'd say, hey, we're in good shape here. We're in good shape, because that's the key. You know, what are you doing to develop yourself? And by the way, the reason that's first is not because you want to be selfish. It's kind of like almost a selfish question. The person says, well, why do I start with myself? The reason you start with yourself is because you cannot give what you do not have. So you better start with yourself. Because if you're leading others and have nothing to give them, nothing to share with them, nothing to teach them, then I can promise you, you'll never be what you want to be as a leader. And I can promise you that after 40 years of personal growth, the secret of any success, if I've had any success at all, the secret of that success has been personal growth in my life. And growth has literally placed me where I am. So what are you doing to develop yourself? It's a huge question. And the 15 laws the 15 laws of personal growth, basically these laws are all about developing yourself and developing the second question, what are you doing to develop others? You see, on the first question, you're foundational for your future. The second question is all about compounding, multiplication. That's where you build a huge business, when you know how to develop other people. Well, Paul Harvey said that you can tell you're on the road to success because it's uphill all the way. And I'm here to tell you, this something for nothing entitlement mindset that invades so many people's lives is a bunch of garbage. I can promise you, nothing that I've ever had worthwhile did I have just kind of fall into my lap like, oh my goodness, I won the lottery. And I know once in a while people win the lottery, but basically the people that win the lottery, half of them lose their money within 3 years, the money they won. And it's because they got money, but they never changed the way they thought. And can I tell you something? If you have all the assets in the world, but you don't change the way you think, you'll lose all the assets in the world. And what I have discovered in this whole process of trade-offs is that every step of the way of my journey, I have to trade something off. And and for you that are young, the good news is your trade-offs will never be easier than when you're young. Because I remember when Mark and I started out, I think, man, you know, I gave up everything. I was a pastor to go in the ministry. I gave up everything. And then I started smiling. I thought, I'm sure I gave up everything. I didn't have anything to give up when I did.
Christy talked about affirmations. Abundant thinkers understand the power of I am. Anything after the word I am is true to your unconscious mind, Michael. Anything after I am, anything after I am, even if you know it's not true, your conscious mind will believe it. Anything after I am. So the use of affirmations is very intentional and very consistent. I was diagnosed as clinically depressed in 1998, I'm sorry. I was diagnosed as clinically depressed. It didn't make sense. I had been in a relationship. I was engaged to get married, and my fiance, who I did not know at the time, was bipolar. And he'd stopped taking his medicines and under the belief system that love can cure anything. And so I ended up being picked up and thrown 3 feet across the room. And I ended up being choked until I passed out. And once I got out of that relationship, I just was different. It was different. So my mom insisted that I go to the doctor. I went to the doctor and I sat on the table and she checked me and talked to me and came back in with a prescription. And she said, Lisa, you're clinically depressed. And I felt like I heard Charlie Brown's parents talking like, wah, 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 wah. Clinically depressed, at least that'll make sense in that same sentence. And she handed me a prescription, and I read the prescription. It had my name on it, and it said Prozac. And I said, do you mean I'm sad? She said, very, very sad. I said, can I try something? And I'm not recommending you guys, if you're on medication, you stop taking your meds. Please don't do that. I asked my doctor. She agreed. I said, do you mind if I try something before I take this? She goes, yes, but I need to see you back in 30 days. If you're in the same condition, I need us to try this medicine. I said, okay, I could do that. So I went home, and every day I got in the mirror and I drilled I am every day, because I realized I had forgotten who I was. I just forgot. And it was okay to forget. I just forgot. So every day every day for 25 minutes, I just went over the I ams. Every day, I am. And then I paralleled that with I forgive you for. Then I paralleled that with I commit to you, Lisa, every single day. I went back in 30 days and I'm talking to her and I'm on fire. She's just looking at me. And I'm just talking. She twisted her head again. And I'm just talking. She says, wait, I got to stop you. I said, what? She goes, what are you taking? And can I have some? I was like, I'm taking some of me. And so the power of I am can pull you through the darkest moment. The power of I am.
There are 1,000 real reasons not to go. But the truth is that none of them matter. The truth is, if you want to build something in your life, then you have to remember what Mark Twain said. You have to get started, because at the end of the day, that is literally the only thing that's holding you back. You're not moving. And once you get the simplicity of that, once you understand that you could act right now, you could say fuck all the excuses. You could stop making them. You could stop giving in to them. No matter how valid they are, no matter how real they may seem, you can finally decide that you're going to get up and move, that you're going to create that momentum, that you're going to take a step, that you're going to make the demand, that you create momentum, that you get something done, that you fucking find an answer, or as Hannibal said, that you're going to find a way or make one. If you have to carve through fucking rock, do it, because humans before you have done it. And that's the simple truth. That is the simple fucking truth. And everything else is bullshit. Everything else is the weak voice in your mind holding you back and making you a less version of yourself. So I ask you, why doesn't the bird fly wherever it wants to go? Because that's all it's known? Because that's what's safe? Because that's what's comfortable? Or because it's an animal? What do you want to be? If this isn't the life you want to live, do something about it. As Albert Einstein said, try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. This is something that I think about a lot. At the end of the day, success is incredibly motivating, and accomplishing your goals and your dreams is something that I wanted to do since I was a little kid. That's been a driving force in my life. But through all of that, the times that I've felt happiest, the times that I've felt most secure, the times that my anxiety and my stress have been at zero are the times where I felt like I was being most true to myself, where I was trying to really become a person of substance. I wasn't looking for something extrinsic. I was focused inward and trying to develop the person that I'm becoming, that I had some code that I was living by, that I was really deciding not just what outwardly success looks like, but what does it mean to be a good person? What does it mean to be an effective person? What does it mean to be worthy of trust? And those things, at the end of the day, those things are something that when you invest in finding value in that it takes you somewhere amazing. And as Bruce Lee said, knowledge will give you power, but character will give you respect. And at the end of the day, I really can't think of anything better than that. I can't think of anything that will keep me company when I'm alone, when there's nothing but silence around, when all I can hear are the sounds of my own thoughts. The only thing that is going to bring me or you comfort is respect, is self-love, is knowing who you are really and knowing that you're true to that even when nobody's looking. And that concept, that notion of having a guiding light, a principle, something by which you steer by, that you are always true to, and that in your moments of stress, chaos, confusion, of desire.
See, it's not what you get by tricks that count. It's not what you get by demand. It's what you get by performance that counts. And I found this out. Performance comes from inside, not outside. For the first part of my life, I was looking for the answers outside before I finally discovered they were inside. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you develop. People are often asking me, how do you develop an above-average income? And the answer is, become an above-average person. Develop an above-average handshake. Some people want to be successful, and they don't even work on their handshake. As easy as that would be to get started on. They let it slide. They don't understand. Develop an above-average smile. Develop an above-average intelligence. Develop an above-average interest in other people. Develop an above-average intensity to win. See, that will change everything. Probably one of the most frustrating experiences in life is looking for an above-average job with above-average pay without becoming an above-average person. It's called frustration. Mr. Schoaf one day gave me one of the most important statements of our entire association. I was giving him a rundown on how things hadn't worked out for me, and he said, "Mr. Rohn, I have an answer for you if you will listen carefully." And listen carefully I did that day and for the next 5 years. If someone is wealthy and happy, you've got to listen. He said, "Jim, I've only known you for a short time, but it is my honest opinion, for things to change for you, you've got to change." That was not quite the answer I was looking for, but that's the one he gave me. And now I bring it to you after pondering it all these years. For things to change for you, you've got to change. No matter what successes you've already achieved. Otherwise, it isn't going to change for you. Before I met Mr. Schoaf, I used to say, "I sure hope things will change." That seemed to be my only hope. If it wasn't going to change, I was in serious trouble. Then I found out it wasn't going to change, and I was in serious trouble. Hey, remember, it isn't going to change. Not long ago, I did a seminar for a group of oil company executives during their convention in Honolulu. Sitting around this conference table, one of them asked, "Mr. Rohn, you know some important people around the world. What do you think the next 10 years are going to be like?" I said, "Gentlemen, I do know the right people. I can tell you." So they all listened very carefully. I said, "Gentlemen, based on the people I know, and from the best of my own experience, I've concluded that in the coming 10 years, it's going to be about like it's always been." Aren't you glad you're listening? I don't share that with just everybody. Now, I said that to make a point, but I also said it because it's accurate. It's going to be about like it's always been. The tide comes in, and then what? It goes out. For 6,500 years that we know of, called recorded history, and probably long before that. So it's not likely to change. It gets light, and then what? It turns dark. For 6,000 years. We are not to be startled by that now. If the sun goes down and the man says, "What's happened? What's happened?" Surely he just got here, I guess. Hey, it always goes down about this time of day. In rotation, the next season after fall is winter. And pray tell, how often does winter follow fall? Every time, without fail, for 6,000 years that we know of. Now, some winters are long and some are short. Some are difficult and some are easy. But they always come right after fall. It isn't going to change.
And tonight, you may not have what the person next to you has. You might not can do what they can do. You might not look like what they look like. You may not have the resources. You might not can play those guitars like those boys were playing the guitar. You may not can play those drums like they do. You may not can speak like somebody can speak, or sing like somebody can sing, or draw like somebody can draw, or build like somebody else can build. But the one thing we all have in common, when we woke up this morning and we were not dead, we woke up with an opportunity. The brother who had 5 immediately went to work and said, "Whoa, I got 5, but I see how it can be 10. And he took what he had been given and turned it into something. That's what every pastor wants on his staff. He wants people on his staff. If I hand you some work to do, I don't want you to just hand it back to me like I gave it to you. I want you to take it and turn it into something. That's what you want. Let me tell you, that's what Moses got out of his staff. Moses did miracles with his staff, not because it was a stick, but because it was able to turn into something. And when I give you a job to do, I want you to not just hold it like it is, but turn it into something. Want your magic on it and make it more than what it was when I handed it to you. Be fruitful. Turn that opportunity into something. Turn that department into something. Turn that church into something. Turn that house into a home. Turn that woman into a wife. Turn that man into a husband. Turn that kid into a man. Turn it into something. Do your magic on it. Make it more than what it was. Brother number 5 said, "Hey, I see how it can be 10. Good God Almighty." Brother number 2 said, "Excuse me, I see how it can be 4. And brother number 1 said, "Now, when he come back, I don't want to take no chances." And so the Bible said he was afraid and he hid his talent in the earth. His mistake is the mistake I've come to warn you of. If you expose your fear, you bury your talent. You need to reverse it. You need to bury your fear and expose your talent.
I ain't touched this button yet, but I will. As soon as I hit that button, I'm gonna point right at it. What was I talking about? I'm going to give you the scripture. You have not because you ask. It is an amazing. If you would only, well, Steve, what do I ask for? If you want a relationship with God where God is not only your king, he's your companion, he's your guide, he's your friend. You know how you can tell your friend anything? That's the relationship. Look, you ain't got to go to church to get that. You had that at your house. I probably had to go to his church to get it, but you can have a relationship with God on your own. You got to have that. Listen to me. When you ask God for something, it's a very simple thing. You know how I acquired a lot of stuff was because of a second scripture I'm going to tell you about. See, you have not because you ask not. You got to start asking God for big stuff. Stop wasting God's time with all this little stuff. Lord, help me make my rent. Don't he always? You keep coming up with the rent. Lord, help me make my rent. You keep coming up with it. Has it ever occurred to you that maybe you should ask God for a mortgage? You ever thought of that? I mean, look, man, if God gonna give you the money for rent and he rewards you according to your faith, if you quit asking for rent and ask for mortgage, you don't think God got mortgage money? But you know why you don't ask God for the mortgage? Because you keep getting in the way. It says you have not because you ask not. But you say, well, I don't have a job that dictates I would afford a mortgage. I don't make enough money. I got bad credit. You think God don't know that? He said ask. You have not because you ask not. So you rule yourself out of the mortgage simply because you won't ask. Just go ahead and ask God for the house. You think God don't know you need a better job? Mess around and make you team member of the year. I bet Ween can get a house. But see, you all in the way. You block your own blessing because you get in the way of the answer. God don't need you in the way, man. I'm telling you real. Just ask God for big stuff. Lord Jesus, help me get out of debt in 7 years. What? You told God to get you out of debt in 7 years because you was watching TV and they got a DVD for $39.95. Get out of debt in 7 years. Why would you ask God to get you out of debt in 7 years? Who you think you talking to? Ain't this the same God that made heaven and earth in 6 days? Why would it take him 7 years to get you out of debt? Who you owe? Hey man, have you ever thought about it like this? I use humor to give people a trip. He made heaven and earth in 6 days. You need 7 years from God to get you out of debt. You're crazy. God do big stuff. Ask God for something big. Now, here's the second. The next thing you need to do, Oprah been on TV for 30 years telling people about vision boards. If you don't have a vision board, if you don't have your dreams written down, that's the other reason you don't have it. I just gave you the two main reasons why people don't have the life of their dream. Number one, you don't ask God for it. And number two, you won't write it down. It has to be written. This is not a theory of mine. Oh, here we go. Come that old 2.5 Christian. Told you I in 4.5 script 30. God has an incredible life for you. But you ain't going to get there if you give up. You can't get to what God got for you if you stop. You can't get to what God got for you if you're afraid. But the best things in life is on the other side of fear. But one of the things that I've always done to help overcome my fears is I make my dreams bigger than all my fears. God really does want to use you as an example of what he can do. You just got to volunteer. But you got to be willing to go through something to get to it. Success ain't free. They ain't passing out money, man. Anybody sending none to your house. That ain't how this works. You got to go get it. But in order to go get it, you got to want something. You got to have vision boards. You got to have stuff you dream about. You got to have this stuff written down. That being successful is not an accident. You know what I can't stand when I hear Christians say, if it was the Lord's will, I would have had some money by now. No. You can't dump that on God. God's will is that you prosper. That's his will. Now, the fact that you done made some adverse decisions to stop your prosperity train from happening, don't dump that on him. God got a great life for you, man, but you got to want something. You got to want it. You got to write it down. Most people don't have what they want in life because it ain't written down nowhere. You must write the vision and make it plain so that he who reads it will run to it. And even though it tarry, that means take a long time. Wait for it, for surely it will come at an appointed time. That's a scripture. That's a scripture. This ain't no philosophy. It's a fact. What you waiting on? Write it down. Put some faith on it. And then get ready to go to work. Sit up and you can believe in God all you want, but if you don't work, man, it ain't gonna happen. And he told you that, though. He said faith without works is dead. I'm just asking you, man, to try something new. If you've tried everything, it ain't worked for you. I'm just asking you, just try writing it down. After you write it down, I want you to put some faith on it. When you put some faith on it, I want you to work for it. Now, you might not want this life. You might not want what it takes to get here. But if you want this life, you got to put in your work. You got to put it in. You got to never give up. You got to talk to God every day. Now, if that ain't what you want to do, then good luck. You keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. I would try something else if I was y'all.
Some people don't want anything much. Most people operate in the area of survival. Now, but there are some people who that just surviving is not enough. I believe that there are three types of people in life. There are winners, there are losers, there are winners who've not discovered how to win yet. And these individuals, it's something about them that drives them, that they will invest in themselves. They go to seminars and workshops and lectures, and they're seeking, there's something in them that says, I can do better than this. That there are people who would be glad to be where they are and would be happy, but they're not. I was reading a story about George Bernard Shaw, who was a very brilliant man in his day. Somebody asked him, if you had to be anybody in the world, you had the power to be born again, who would you like to come back as? And without blinking, he said, I'd like to be born as the man I never was. I'd like to be the man never was, never became. Well, every time I speak, I see this as such a sacred opportunity. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming, because when I look back on my life, this Les Brown that you see was in bondage for so many years. Didn't come out till late in my life. In bondage with fear. I wanted to do what I'm doing. I thought about things I wanted to accomplish, and I held myself back because I was afraid to fail. I was afraid that I would embarrass myself. I was intimidated by people who had college degrees. And so I would think about the things I wanted to do, and then I would start thinking about the fact, Les, you can't do that. You don't have a college education. Les, come on, be logical. Be practical. Oh, yes, I know people told you you have a gift of gab and you have a nice personality and you're funny and you make people feel good and you make them laugh. But you become a speaker, train and teach people and motivate people to do something you've never done? You can't do that, Les Brown. See, my heart said I can do that. And then I made a critical mistake. I asked how. The mind became operative and said, Les Brown, I heard what your heart said, but I want to ask you, how will you do that? And so I went from my heart to my mind. That time I wanted to earn $1,000 an hour. My mind said, do you make $1,000 a week? I said, no. Have you ever done this before? I said, no. Okay. Have you any contacts with anybody that can teach you how to do this? No. Do you have the money? No. Do you have the credentials? No. Well, let me ask you, do you really think you can do this? No. There's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. How many of you ever thought about something you wanted to do? You felt it in your heart, and you talked yourself out of it. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. I talked myself out of it. No one did it to me but me. Sometimes we have to stand up inside ourselves. Sometimes we have to fight ourselves. Sometimes you have a dream and goal that you want to achieve. And you say, oh, I can't do that. You got to tell yourself to shut up. Don't tell me I can't do that. Sometimes you got to talk to yourself. Oh, I can do this. Oh, I will do it. I have got to do this. What you think about your dream? And I want you to increase your dream. I said you have something special. You have greatness in you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. Greatness, it's a choice. It's not your destiny. Most people, ladies and gentlemen, go to their graves living a life of mediocrity.
So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? It's gonna be the same. And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Look at the last 5. Unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all.
The most important thing that we have a very clear vision of where we go. A goal, where do we go? Because you can have the best ship in the world. You can have the best cruise liner, but if the captain does not know where to go, that ship will drift around the world and out there at sea and will never end up anywhere. And this is exactly the way it is in real life. If you don't have a goal, if you don't have a vision, you just drift around. You're not going to be happy. This is why it is so important to have that vision.
The fool is the precursor to the Savior. Why? Because you're a fool when you start something new. And so if you're not willing to be a fool, then you'll never start anything new. And if you never start anything new, then you won't develop. And so the willingness to be a fool is the precursor to transformation. And that's the same as humility. And so if you're going to write your destiny, you can do a bad first job. You're going to get smarter as you move forward. That's the thing, is that so something beckons to you. That's what happens here. Maybe the star that Geppetto wished on was the wrong damn star. But at least it was a star, right? At least it was in the sky. At least it moved him forward. And so you say in your life, well, something grips you and it fills you with interest. And you think, well, should I do that? And the answer is, if not that, then something. What if it's a mistake? It's a mistake. Rest assured. What do you know? You're going to stumble around, right? And what's going to happen is this. You're going to move, you're going to not stay in stasis. You're not going to wander around in circles. And I see people like that. They said, well, I never knew what to do, and now I'm 40. It's like, that's not so good. That's not so good. And you might say, well, and there is a literature too that suggests that people are a lot more unhappy when they look back on their lives about the things they didn't do than they are about the mistakes they made while they were doing things. And so that's really worth thinking about too, because there's redemptive mistakes. And a redemptive mistake would be a mistake that you make when you go out and try to do something. You know, you think, okay, I'm going to try to do this. And you're not good at it. You make a bunch of mistakes. It's like, what's the consequence if you pay attention? You're not quite so stupid anymore. That's the thing, is you've been informed by the results of your errors. So what happens is you follow the beacon, you follow the light, and you're blind, so you don't know where the light is. It's dimly apprehended only, and you're afraid to follow it. But you decide to take some stumbling steps towards it. And as you take stumbling steps towards it, you become illuminated and enlightened and informed because of the nature of your experience, because you're pushing yourself beyond where you are, and you're going into the country that you have not yet been in, and you learn something. And so what happens then is the star moves. You move 10 feet towards it, and you think, no, that's not right. I didn't get it right. It isn't there. It's actually there. And so then you see it somewhere else, and you shift yourself slightly, and you move forward. And that's what happens, is that you continue as you change. The thing that guides you forward moves. Right? It's like God in the desert in Egypt. The pillar of light that you're following, it's moving. It's not a permanent thing. You move towards it, it moves away. It guides you forward. And so you say, well, is what I'm aiming at paradise itself? And the answer to that is no, because what do you know? You couldn't see paradise if it was right in front of you, but you might get a glimmer of it. And so you move towards it and you grow. And then the next time you open your eyes, you see a little bit more clearly. And that's what happens, is that just happens over and over. Right? It keeps moving. And so you move like this. But the thing that's so cool is that all those zigs and zags, you say, and each of those zags and zigs is a catastrophe. I hit a wall, my God, and then I had to die a little bit, and I barely got back up. It's a phoenix transformation at each turn. And it's painful. But the thing is that even though you've traveled 20 miles, let's say, on that road, and you've only moved 3 miles forward, you've moved 3 miles forward instead of falling backwards, because that's the thing too, is that if you stand still, you fall backwards. You cannot stand still, because the world moves away from you if you stand still. And there's no stasis, there's only backwards. And so if you're not moving back forwards, then you're moving backwards. And that's more of the underlying truth of the Matthew principle. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. It's a warning. Do not stay in one place. Well, as you zig and zag, maybe the cataclysm of each transformation starts to lessen. There's not so much of you that has to die with every mistake. And maybe you end up oriented at least reasonably properly. And if you were sensible, that would have been your trip. But it wasn't, right? It's that. And perhaps it's a lot worse than that. Perhaps there's no shortage of backtracking. But it doesn't matter, because as you stumble forward, you illuminate and inform yourself. And perhaps that's partly because the world is made of information. And if you encounter it and tangle with it, then it informs you. And then you become informed. And then you're information. And then you're ready.
Nobody gets a degree by mistake. Nobody wins the Olympics by mistake. Nobody runs a race by accident. Success is always intentional. You have to run after your destiny. There are certain things that will happen in your life that make you pick up the pace. The one thing I can tell you for sure is that nothing is for sure. And I want to say to you that if you run after your destiny, you won't have to fight with your history. You won't have time for your history if you run after your destiny. I want to wake you up out of struggling with old ghosts. Casper the friendly ghost is dead. I want you to shake yourself and understand it's time to run after your destiny. Everybody in the text is running after their destiny. If they are running, why are you still standing there? It's the one thing I can tell you to count on is don't count on anything. That life will often disrupt what you expected. That just as soon as you have it down in a nice, neat little box of how you think it's going to go, and that when I walk down here, this is what is going to happen, by the time you get there, it will never be what you expected it to be. So you got to get used to being a little disappointed. You got to get used to being a little bit shocked. You got to get used to walking into situations and being flexible and adjustable. Because if you are not flexible, you cannot survive. If you hear me good, especially young people, if you run after your destiny, you will automatically distance yourself from your history. You understand? If you just run after what's in front of you, you will escape what's behind you. Don't spend all your time trying to fix what's behind you, because you'll never be able to fix what's behind you. You have to run after what's in front of you. I don't dress like you. I don't walk like you. I don't act like you. I'm a runner. I'm not built like you. I don't think like you. I'm a runner. Shout out.
Can you believe in yourself? You have no choice, but you got to make it happen. You got to believe in it.
And he founded a philosophy called pragmatism. To be pragmatic is to be practical.
That's why you can't blow up. You ain't got enough discipline to discipline you.
You think crying is what happens. When the sun comes out, you'll think blood is what happened when the lights come off. You'll think pride is what happened with people getting to stay that's not crying. The real God is in the dark when nobody sees you. When nobody knows what you're doing, when you're studying without coach. When you're putting in those extra reps, when you're watching those videos and you're getting inspired. When you change your music, this is the process that makes you sweet. It has everything to do with what time you wake up. It has everything to do with how you eat. It has everything to do with how you work out, how you prepare.
You got to understand that there's a process to everything, and you got to trust it. And you got to stand on it. You may look at everybody else in the world and look at their success stories, but do you have any idea how they got there? Sometimes people get an opportunity and they go a little bit faster than you hope to go. But because they're moving a little bit faster and you may be moving a little bit slower, even if you're moving slow, just keep moving. What's meant for you is for you, and no one can take that away from you. Somebody hears your cry. Somebody hears your voice. Somebody is listening to you. You are not alone.
To test the validity of a concept by its practical results. To actually question something and rate its usefulness by what it can do for you. To hear a method of doing something and figuring out if it's even worth your while. One of the issues Mr. James dealt with in his lifetime was, what does it mean to be a success? A significant person. After years of pondering this question, William James described success as a combination of two things. Number one, an inner ideal which is followed persistently with courage. And number two, outer achievement related to that ideal.
If you're going to be the best, the cream of the crop, you got to be it, not talk about it. It has to consume you, it has to take over you. And when I see you without even knowing you, I want to be able to look at you and from your ethos. I want to see you are the best of the best. I don't know what you're doing. Without you saying one word, it ought to illuminate from no alarm clock. Needed, my passion wakes me up. My drive wakes me up. My determination was my ability to be. Doing whatever I want to wakes me up or wakes you up.
You have something. We all have some abilities. You got to go in the direction you want to go. But yes, it's going to challenge you. Yes, you're going to get tired. Yes, you're going to feel, can I do this? Do I have the strength to carry on? You have no choice but to carry on. Don't quit on your life. Don't quit on you. Push your mind and push your body. Find it. Search for it. Go after it. It ain't going to come after you. Find that reason. Find that purpose. One thing about purpose, it's beautiful. And it moves in so many different directions. And why is it existing? Why does it matter at this point? Because it matters to you. So if you're tired, find a way to get up. Find a way to find strength.
Let's go back to number 1. An inner ideal which is followed persistently with courage. I take that to mean defining a goal and having the resolve to complete it. No matter what, I'll do it or die. Promise yourself you'll read the books until your skills change. Go to the seminars until you get a handle on it. Do it until it makes sense. Practice it until you've got it right. Don't give up until you get where you want to be, however long that is. Step by step, piece by piece, book by book, seminar by seminar, do it until. Go for it. Until is a very important word. It's magic. It means that you'll never give up. Don't miss the chance to grow, to pay the price. Until you learn, change, grow. You'll discover some of life's great treasures when you pay that price.
When you feel like giving up, don't. When you're thinking about giving up, don't. When it look like you ain't gonna make it, keep going. When they tell you you can't, come on, man, who are they? When they tell you you're not gonna make it, don't believe them, man. Don't believe them. You got to be relentless. Don't give up. Don't give up. Stay in it. Stay focused. Quitting guarantees the failure.
That's why you're making the money you're making, because you got to let somebody else do it, because you don't have enough sense to do it for yourself. You're going to tell me, you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I live in America. You mean to tell me I could be a multimillionaire by getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I do it every day. And guess what? When I get my paper, I take a nap when I'm tired. Ain't nobody say I got to get up at 3 and stay up at 3. I got to get up at 3 and stay up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just got to get up at 3 and get all my work done before y'all get up. I just got to make all my phone calls while y'all still sleep. I just got to make all my phone calls while y'all party. I came down to get on the treadmill this morning at 1:58 a.m. I finished working out. I think it was about 3:15. I got on the elevator, I'm talking about solo.
And then we've got to be kind, not only to others throughout our process, but we've got to be kind to ourselves. The problem with many of us is that we're not kind to ourselves. Be kind to yourself. You can be assertive, you can be direct, you can be firm, but you can have a little empathy and a little kindness, not only on others, but on yourself. Because the truth of the matter is you are not going to always feel like doing what you were designed to do. Okay? And so we've got to condition ourselves for the stretch. With gratitude, we're going to need that coupled with patience. The future takes time to manifest. The future takes time because you are beautifully equipped to get the results you are currently getting, and there are some bigger results that you are after. And in order to get those results, in order to manifest that very specific future, you're going to have to acquire a different set of skills, a different work mentality. It's going to require you to be.
It was just me and my man who was cleaning up. It wasn't nobody there. I get on the elevator. I'm going up the elevator. It stopped on the lobby level. I'm like, shoot. I'm just trying to be real, y'all. I ain't trying to be seen at 3 a.m. When nobody, E.T., what up? I have been seeing your video, and I wanted to know about. I'm like, it's 3. It's 3. Come holler at me at 8. Like, that's when I go into E.T. to hip hop preach. I'm just Eric at 3 o'clock in the morning. You see what I'm saying? So when it hit lobby, I was like, man, here comes somebody about to ask me a ton of questions. I'm trying to take a shower. I stank. I'm really not in E.T., the hip hop preacher mode. Boom. Lobby level. I see a young lady. She probably in her 20s. She looking at the elevator. I'm like, okay, you getting on or you not getting on? I was like, man, I hope I don't get shot. You know what I'm saying? I'm just from the city. I'm like, okay, ain't no telling. My cousins all got guns in their bags in Detroit.
Elevation is all over you. Because next you got to seize the opportunity. There are so many opportunities for you to grow, so many opportunities for you to learn, so many opportunities for you to share, for you to give, for you to understand, for you to think, for you to be quiet, for you to speak. And you've got to know when to do, what to do, why to do. This is the paradigm of the future. The future has a specific paradigm that you have to execute. You have to walk in this. You're going to have to move from limited beliefs, and you're going to have to move into limitless believing. You have to know your boundaries, establish your guardrails. You got to know your weaknesses and your strengths. Do not stop. It's the no quit mentality.
Once you quit, it rules out any chance of succeeding. The mere waking up every day, putting the next foot in front of the next foot, at least keeps you in the game. But you can choose in the midst of all of this that's going on to be happy, in spite of life's challenges. See, a lot of us, because of our limited vision of ourselves, a lot of us who begin to focus on problems and enable them to overwhelm us. We begin to think that we have no options. We begin to believe that there's no way out. Well, guess what? There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.